Hello guys, this is Golden Devin-Foxy remastered, and before this video could begin I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give this one a like and comment and subscribe and the bell be notified. And before we do ever start and to begin that hopefully that we're going to pretty much be talking about a different topic, which we're going to probably get straight to the point of talking about Lego Ninjago. Now, most likely, why Lego Ninjago? Well, in my certain case, that I want to say that why was Lego Ninjago the best season, the best movie we had ever seen, or should I say I had ever seen before? So, this came to be a lot of surprising to me and a lot of good extended points that I actually will be talking through out of it and will say how awesome it is and just say how and why did Lego Ninjago got pretty good or a little bit less bad, which we probably would see different outcomes from different ninjas, his deaths, or maybe a little bit from villains as well, which both sides probably would get fair play anyway, but I'm not here to just say, oh, it might be probably one of their end. Well, like I said, I think Lego Ninjago still kind of continues on as it always remains to be, or remains to be split up away, or maybe remains to be split parts or somehow, which, like I said, I'll explain every single ninja's elements and pretty much likely everything that has been pushed on to generation and generation of how from all the seasons gone, and then from the movie itself, which went pretty deeper as I expected to say, and a lot of great things were a lot different than I could have ever would have expected from so many times and so many far ways that we had ever seen from a different outcome from this. So, without that being said, that I'm Golden Devin Foxy Mastered, and I'm gonna be telling you guys why was Lego Ninjago the best season and best movie I had ever seen. Which I think it was all different seasons that it was comparing to Lego Ninjago seasons and episodes. Which, like I said again, I'm not going to explain through all the characters, but some of them are pretty much a little bit different, as we could expect from different, villains that we could expect from them. But for now, guys, let's just go through the heroes first, and then all villains from a side. So, without that being said, let's do this. Let's jump right into this. And here we go right now. And also, if anybody's telling me by saying oh, are you back from the break? Well, the answer is no. Actually, I'm not back on the break. No, I really am probably am not. So if anybody else is trying to tell me by saying oh, he's back. Well, the answer is I'm not back actually. The only thing I would rather be back is around February or March, that I will be actually making that deadline for me to return, so that way that I could have a bit of less mental health and then not fully having bigger issues to be handled after. So that's just pretty much what I'm trying to avoid. And yes, I'm actually am going to be using meditation music to actually frustratingly get rid of my anger for some times, which will probably be a still bit of the remains of my mental health, which I can still make content on different videos on my channels, which I can still specifically do some of them on my other videos. That is in my first channel, which that's why I'm always allowed to do over there. But this channel, like I said, I'm only allowed to be on a break from this one. So, as like I said, hopefully you guys do respect what I'm saying. And oh, if any of you guys have checked out that poll, by the way, or should I say the post, which I meant saying post, which, for pardon my language, meant to say post. If you guys have checked the post, by the way, what actually is going to be the new big changes, then please be sure to check that out, and please be sure to fully understand that, again, there's going to be new things are going to happen starting already, which is already happening. So if any of you guys do explain to know why I've actually made this post very understandably big and clear for everybody's big understanding, well, that's just what I want to give for everybody. That there will be more Friday Night Funkin' reactions and more Left 4 Dead 2 reactions, which, like I said, it is only allowed for me to finish the gameplay that I would be considered doing. That's it. and then that's when I'll start doing some reactions of that. Basically, I have Left 4 Dead 2. So there you go. And basically, that's just why I want to point out the fact exactly that the reaction videos were made to stay the same, which they probably will stay the same, and plush video reactions were made to be the same way as well. And yes, it's going to probably be true in all of the ways that it's going to be true. And Team Fortress 2 stuff is going to be less reaction on it. Because I actually did say that I'm stepping away from like the TF2 reactions right now because I actually had a life and have a life to move on and just, people need to pretty much be a little bit smarter about this and understand fully is that I'm no dum dum. Because I mean, I'm not a stupid head. Because I mean, if anybody thinks I'm stupid, the answer has already been false and to been correctified is false. And basically, people should really know that my backup channel does the same reactions as well from my first channel, but different, which my backup channel could still do Team Fortress 2 reactions for crying out loud, which it still can do that. So that's just why I will be pointing out to that. And no, I'm not going to debate anybody else for saying it's like, oh, please bring it back. The answer is no, I'm not going to, and that remains being final of my decision. Don't like it, then get out. And that's your final excuse, or whatever. So please, make that decision fully clear and fully understand it. Thank you. And plus, less Team Fortress 2 reactions are going to be at 2% or near 11%, which means I've decided that it's going to get boring and boring and boring. Like, I'm not saying everything's going to be boring of Team Fortress 2 stuff. It's just going to be less boring. That's just going to be the same thing and same thing. That's going to be put in the same old smuck. So that's just what I'm trying to say. But I don't hate its community. I've always liked its community from the very beginning when I played the gameplay of it. But what I'm just not liking the way how, oh, people are like so obsessed with different things. Well, I just really don't like it. And I mean, if anyone's against it, well, too bad. I'm just saying it. Too bad. Just go ahead and suck like a monkey of a banana peel and slip it. So, yeah, without that being said, I will continue on talking about the Lego Ninjago of why it was good or whatever. So, without that being said, let's move on and just get what we need to deal with today and just explain here how and when and who and why was it good. So, without it being said, let's move on to the basics and get straight to the point of it now. So, here we go. Three, two, one, and here we go. The first ninja we're going to be talking about is Kai, the Master of Fire. So here's my point of Kai, the Master of Fire. So before I say anything about Kai, is that was he a good ninja or was he a bit alright? Well, for my answer about Kai, well, I have to say, to be frankly honest, is that I've always liked fire characters. I've always been liking that stuff. Which I mean, hey, I would say I would probably would stay the same and just say is that, oh, I just like the elements of fire and ice, which I've always liked two different simple elements that I've always liked better. And and then there'll probably be some less ones I would like better of different elements too, by less ones as well. So right now about Kai, he's more likely a fire ninja that actually uses fire out of his hands and probably uses like the golden sword of a fire sword that he uses and tries to fight every villain that in pretty much minions that he probably will defeat, and also learns how to use the Ninjago of that tornado and pretty much like we beat the entire amounts of them up exactly while he pretty much is fighting for his honor and fighting for his master, and then for pretty much likely for his honor and life exactly of pretty much Master Wu exactly, which at this point he probably still learns pretty differently well, basically since the first episode I watched. Well, it was pretty easy for how Kai got to manage how him being fire made it a little bit successful for him. But the only thing I figured a lot more differently and deeply was just that, well, Yeah, it was pretty cool after when he was facing against the skeletons. Like, he was literally facing against those skeleton minions and then tries to go out and fight them. Which he was basically in a workshop trying to actually, like, manage to, like, use weapons. Like, he's, like, kind of like a woodsmith, exactly, to be like a blacksmith or somehow. Which he pretty much was working a little bit like the swords, like if it was like the knights or somehow of the round table thing, which was kind of close of a reference that Kai was almost likely to be in that reference for that one. For however that there was like a different explanation that carries on a different story between how Kai continues to manage to defeat every villain that he goes past by and actually learns the respect of honor and true ninja skills of him being fire. And he probably was going to save his sister, Nia, which we probably won't be getting to that character just yet before we even move to the next one, of course. Which, like I said, there's going to be a lot different more to currently talk through and make a lot of different exception talks about all throughout, like, Ninjago talks. So, yes, again, I love the fact when Kai was doing pretty well and actually started to, like, figure the ways how he probably learns to do training skills and for much more. He does a lot of good, impressive things, which I gotta say, to be quite frankly honest, that after what I might rewatch Lego Ninjago this week or whatever, then I might have to get a lot good, impressive ways from the story. And trust me, whenever I see the same season one, I've literally watched it so many times that it even gets so impressive to watch about Lego Ninjago, which turns out so differently and prospectively better in this one. Turned out so freaking badass. Which, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of heroes, and then of course a lot of villains that all will probably be related to Lego Ninjago that actually did showed up in past seasons, or maybe a little bit of a different reunion ships. For however that some of them got their participation appearances and more likely their returns of their seasons, and then maybe their whatever, basically for when they actually came back from cameos, which was pretty impressive. So I kind of will give my benefit of the doubt that Kai actually did a very great job as being a ninja, which, as in for him, he kind of moved on and with his time exactly after when, oh, we might be explaining the exact same thing how the ninjas were pretty much separate away and split parts away from each other, which there were some dark episodes that some of them left would drift for some reason, so I really don't know what else to say it, but it probably was something else. So let's move right along to another ninja that we're going to get straight to the next point. So the next ninja in blue is Jay, the master of lightning. And before I say anything else, is that the Blue Ninja is known to be as Jay, the Master of Lightning, and apparently he pretty much uses the nunchucks of the weapon that he uses to fight off enemies with, and pretty much likely anything that could defeat him, or whatever. Apparently, that Jay was also pretty much the same reason as Kai, but not as likely to be a blacksmith. More likely that Jay, well, Master Ru had pretty much brought him in exactly to teach him the ways of the ninja of Ninjago, and pretty much told him and taught him to pretty much use anything he uses of lightning of those nunchucks, and pretty much succeeded pretty differently and very well by him using those powers. And pretty much likely, Master Ru always had a set of a quote by saying is like, using your powers very wisely and responsibly, to use them responsibility, to use them every single time, which apparently is only for facing off evil for a lot of reasons. Which Master Ru was actually in the right for that, which I gotta say, it's pretty different as I would to expect that. Yeah, Jay pretty much uses the Master of Lightning of his powers of skills of ultimately defeating his foes. Either be the same thing as Kai does, is fight off the skeletons, snakes, and pretty much anything else that's villains or whatever, to so be and the likely. So, that's just pretty much why I want to put my a few cents for Jay. And oh yes, as in for Jay, he pretty much had a crush on Kai's sister named Nia, which more likely we'll get straight to the point of that later too, which actually is the same thing from the beginning I've mentioned before. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then as I would say that, oh yeah, Kai and Jay do have a pretty much likely a more likely of defense between that Kai actually refuses Jay not to marry his sister because, yeah, it probably would be a different alternative. But as in for what happened else, is that Jay actually did say that he wants to do so, to pretty much with Nia, to be married, I think. Or pretty much likely to be girlfriend and boyfriend for the related time right now. Which I gotta say that I find that interesting for a different element of something else between how Jay actually considers that he pretty much never sees any like women to go out with, and he decides to pretty much pick Nia as for that option choice. Well, dang, that's pretty much something from Jay. And oh yeah, he may be afraid of different things like spiders or anything else for whatever gets in his way, but just as in for that, he pretty much has a lot of people of his only support that pretty much relates to two more ninjas that actually will be shown to the screen, or relatedly to the third one as well. But as in for now, that's pretty much Jay, and he knows how to use the power of lightning, and pretty much knows how to defeat most likely every villain on every spot, as Jay faces off against anything else he could stand against. But that's just pretty much what I'm gonna put my sense out for Jay, and yeah. So there you go. That's my point of Jay, and we're gonna like straight to the next ninja, and we're gonna move right on to the next one. So here it is, everybody. The next one is the master of the next ninja that is being said and will to be said on the screen, the master of Earth, and his name is Cole. So, as in for that the next third ninja that is to technically be the Black Ninja that is so called to be now is that his name is Cole. And as in for this next reason, that yes, it's going to be the same thing as I said from previous, which will be a lot of different previous times that I'll be explaining through anyway. So, as in from Cole, is that he's the master of Earth. He controls pretty much likely from the ground and controls anything that he's used the powers of, and his tornado is the ground tornado that he pretty much does so. But like I said, Cole is pretty much similar to any ninja that it has different ability powers, unlike Jay or Kai, or pretty much like with the next ninja to be shown and to be seen. So, as in for now, that Cole does have the powers of Earth, and he uses like a staff, which was pretty much likely a sharp staff that he kind of uses, and pretty much a golden one too that he actually apparently uses to face against his enemies, and will pretty much ground pound the entire most likely the earthquake of most likely every minion and villain that actually just falls down into the cracks or pretty much ducks it or runs from it, which is pretty much likely to be impossible. As in for what he does, is that he's pretty much like with the power of anything else that he can definitely do and will use the power of like Earth that he uses. So that's pretty much another big standard point as for what he does or lately, as what Cole does. So that's just pretty much my sense for Cole, and that he pretty much does pretty good stuff as he uses before is pretty good. And I will admit that it's pretty good lately. That it's actually pretty good. So that's just why I'm going to put my next sense for Cole, that he actually is a pretty good ninja, and he's like a third ninja to pretty much be explaining, or pretty much will be explained anyway through it, which is pretty good. And I will admit that Cole is a pretty good ninja. And also the same thing goes to Master Wu, that actually just like pretty much raised him, or pretty much likely gave him the powers, or more likely to be taught by his sensei, that is pretty much his master, that was actually been followed to the same paragraph that goes from as the next ninja from Jay and Kai, which Kai was more of a new person to be in the group, as he didn't expect the three of them to pretty much be attacking him in his sleep. Or was it just pretty much likely to be more likely a bit of a different hostile, or more likely to be captive for pretty much for a reason to like sabotage, or pretty much likely to do anything, to pretty much likely to pretty much be on his train on his feet for how Master Wu set up the idea of having like a few ninjas, like three of them, that had to appear on Kai's room and had to start fighting like the nonsense in there, which was impressive. So I gotta say that was pretty good, which was pretty cool for once. So yeah, that was a pretty good battle, and I will agree that it was a pretty good, interesting battle from pretty much from Kai, or pretty much from likely the ninjas itself. So yeah, that's just what I want to put my sense in for Cole, for knowing why that he was a good ninja, and he was a pretty much a basic good ninja indeed. So that's just what I want to talk about from Cole. Now, the next ninja I'm going to be talking about is, and the master of the Ninjago of another color is. So yeah, that's just the other part where I want to be mentioned about. And oh, here's another ninja that I'm going to be explaining. The color is white. The white ninja. So it has to be revealed that the white ninja is Zane. That's right, Zane, baby, Zane. So as from likely that, yeah, there are two different types of Zane. Is like, I gotta say that's pretty cool and that's pretty neat. And I'm like, first it was pretty much from the Ninjago seasons and movie, and then now it's pretty much likely the other different way around. That is pretty much from like Ninjago and then YouTube. Which I gotta say, that's pretty interesting. That's actually like the very interesting thing I had ever seen, and pretty much likely the most best interesting thing I kind of ever seen before, and just say how great that is. Which I'm not saying it to be a bad thing, I'm just saying it's like that's just so cool that I just never knew about like those two things at the same time. That's just only being appeared into the same thing. So that's just what I'm be pointing out for that one. And basically, I did say that I did told Zane once in the comments, my Zane in the comments, that just wanted to be fully aware and just says that I just told him that he was like, wait, or basically that I might have been confused for some reason. But the only point I want to be saying is that I did told Zane in the comments, I was saying is like, hey Zane, did you know that there's another name Zane in Lego Ninjago? As I've already did told him, by the way, which I've actually went back and forward with him in the comments for some reason and just explained through it. Was like, yeah, it was a pretty interesting moment and pretty interesting thing that I just never knew how I thought it was interesting to me, but it kind of was pretty impressive to me so far, which I think it was pretty good. So, again, he uses the pretty much like the ninja that is named Zane, which is the Ninja Zane that he pretty much uses. That he uses like the throwing star, the star throwing things that he uses, like the throwing ninja stars. That's pretty much made of ice. And apparently, as in for him, yeah, he goes into combat with fist to fist and probably uses like an ice weapon that he uses for those throwing star ninja stars that he uses to pretty much be attacking more likely any villain or many like what else is gonna probably be. And I think that the only best thing I'd ever seen from this guy was that he was pretty good. Like he was dang pretty good that he uses the power of ice. And then of course that his only tornado he does is an ice tornado. Like I'm like, that is so freaking cool. Like that is like literally the best thing I had ever seen from like the way how I see the elements between fire, lightning, earth, and then now ice in four combinations. Like that is so impressive. Like that is like the very best thing I had ever seen, and so impressively that it's just been so freaking good. Even heck, I find that so impressive to say how cool that even is from Zane himself. That is the ninja. That is so freaking badass. Like uses a freaking ice tornado. That is cool. Like really cool. And then it pretty much gone to the same thing with Master Wu that actually also brought him in for like the same purpose and the same reason that brings into the two ninjas of lightning and earth to pretty much cooperate and then associate to pretty much likely had pretty much had a kind of conversation of him how he's going to probably learn to be the ninja of fire. That pretty much explains it to itself, which that pretty much was a very great idea and basic in general. So yeah, Like the four of them had actually now got along to be a team and probably work teamwork and know how to follow the orders by Master Wu without pretty much likely to argue from time and time again, which was pretty interesting. I liked how that was interesting, of knowing how cool that was. So that's just pretty much my point of the sense of how Zane really did so well to be a great ninja of ice. That he learned to do so well that he even was pretty peaceful for a bit. For some points of his time that he was a bit peaceful, and then there were some kind of few bit of bad things that went happening on with him. That whenever so many different things happened with the ninja, that is pretty much the white ninja that went happening with him, was a few different incidents that pretty much went on to happen and pretty much made him suffer through likely different things that made him pretty much likely didn't do so good, or much likely he did so well from the beginning. But I'm talking about like whenever like the president has kept moving along with different sides of the point view that brings out to like 4 or 5 near or 6 ninjas that had pretty much had different sufferings against pretty much like any strong villain or strong minion that over defeated different ninjas that didn't have give them like good proper reasons to get them on. So that's just pretty much how what happened. And as in for what happened to Zane, that he was no longer human. He was more likely a robot and an android. He was like an android robot, which means that he was more of an android, and pretty much, again, that he pretty much likely is the one to use a scanner and pretty much to scan anything detected of life and anything else. And Zane became an android. Like, the one of the things that ever happened was a few android ninjas that started a pretty much decapitated of more likely to go on and try to get Zayn to become one of them, which didn't really actually ever happen at least, but it was something that I've never noticed from how Zayn went from human and then to pretty much android, which I really don't know how that went started, but it just did for some different reason I never knew about. So that's just my part of the story. How about Zayn? That he went from pretty well to pretty bit okay and impressive ish. So that's just what I want to put my sense for Zane, that he did pretty well. So that's just what I want to say for that. Now, the next person we're going to get to right now and here and there, that we're going to jump right on to the next part. So let's jump on to the next one. So the next person that became another ninja, that was another element before the season even moved forward and the time again, that here's what Nia was about. So in the beginning I did mention about Kai's backstory, that he pretty much likely is the sister of Nia, and then Nia is pretty much the brother of Kai. So here's the point of Nia. So the point of Nia is that she's a water ninja, that she learns to pretty much likely absorb the water. More likely, it's kind of a reference from like basically from like the Avatar exactly. It's kind of a bit of the exact same damn reference from the Avatar exactly. Like, I'm like so impressed how the only thing I've never seen every day is just have like a girl ninja, and then of course like another water bender that pretty much knows how to use the full power of the ability of water. I'm like, jeez, damn. Like, I never knew that there were two collaborations between like so many reasons that gone on with Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network at this point, which I'm just like, good, jeez, bro, that is pretty sick. Like, I'm just saying it in a good way. That I'm just thinking it was sick, very sick at the same time. So I just think that Nia more likely used the element of water for his full amount of surprises. And I'm like, okay, well, at least she did learn a little bit of two by actually like Master Ru teaching her to use the element of water by actually absorbing the water out from the cycle and pretty much likely to use that water to pretty much just be hitting the enemies with and probably weaken them anyways, which I gotta say that is nuts. And as in for her, she probably does the same tornado exactly as the same thing, which I'm not sure if she ever did the tornado of the Ninjago tornado, but it was just something interesting I had ever seen about how she more likely used the element of water. And I'm pretty dang surprised how many of these characters use the forms and more likely the artworks of the form of using powers and element powers that went so freaking based that I actually have to say it's two comparisons that ever brought to be was like, oh yeah, Lego Ninjago did so impressive than the Earthbender, or pretty much likely the last Avatar. Like seriously, it brings out so many references for different things that I have basically had no reason to why that it's so relatable to pretty much likely Legos and then now animation, which it pretty much brings to the same topic anyway and brings to the same discussion and back to the same table is like if somebody ever said something in the comments by saying is like, wait, are you actually correct on this one? That you said that there's two water people, like two element people that were like two females know how to use the elements of water. And the answer of mine, whoever said that in the comments, is totally yes. That it's the same thing, but using water, but different universe. That I'm just pointing out the obvious. So there you go. That's just what my point was. And yeah, so gotta say, man, that is actually pretty cool. Like water, well, I pretty much don't like water to begin with whenever it just gets on my hair for some reason. Which, like I said, sometimes I just didn't really like it anyway because I just really didn't like to. Because I mean, oh, I've never liked it because I just really don't apparently. Which I mean, the shower's only fine, but it's only the part if I ever get like my entire full hair wet. Like if I ever got splashed in the face, which I never seriously liked that anyways. Because I mean, yeah, it pretty much likely gets my freaking eyes. Which seriously, that's exactly why I wouldn't see. Because I have to pretty much likely look around while pretty much have my hands more likely to be closed so that way I would know how to touch. That way if I ever touch something to be like it would probably be like a ladder to get out the pool or whatever, then that's just pretty much why I want to like touch it so that way I probably would know. That's my point of issue. But anyway, let's move on to the next one here that we're going to jump right on to the next point of it is that we're going to be explaining about the Green Ninja that we're also going to probably be talking about next. And oh yeah, it's going to be a long, long, long discussion about him. So, without that in being said again, is let's talk about the next ninja that is to be the Green Ninja. That we're about to hear the name that we're going to be all hearing that it's coming from the movie type or a little bit likely from the season type of it as well, that there's two conundrum points by looking into those anyway. So let's jump right on to the next one is the Green Ninja. Alright, so the next person that I want to be discussing about is finally about the next ninja is the green one. The next ninja I'm going to be pointing out is Lloyd Gamadon. That's right, the father of Laura Gamadon. Or pretty much likely that I will probably get to that villain next after what I'll explain about him, and then of course Master Ru that I've already been explained already. So here's the Green Ninja. So I think basically afterwards that the Green Ninja turned out to be the villain basically in the very first season and pretty much second afterwards, and then decidedly that pretty much likely that the ninjas had to decide and pretty much take him in anyway again. Just the same thing as Master Ru did, but got to him to be at a standard basics of pretty much having him an extended or whatever to pretty much have him pretty well and obvious, or should I say very well and indeed, even if my words will sometimes make sense or won't make sense to the point of it, but again, just bear with me anyway because like I said again, won't get most of the words right sometimes, but I'll still get some of them kind of right, but still at the point of it. But now, basically, for this guy, that is Lloyd Gamadon, that is known as to be the Green Ninja and the father of him, basically, which all I gotta say that, yeah, I did see the reveal of him by basically where he took off the Green Ninja mask off and he decided to reveal himself as pretty much likely the guy that is the Lord, pretty much likely Lord Gamadon's son. That's pretty much likely Lloyd. which, yeah, he pretty much is likely the father of him, but he turns out to pretty much likely fight for good and just take on the evil, which he pretty much simply does so kind of okay in seasons and movies, which he did take out to be the main person the whole time. Well, pretty much different things were moving on different roles that were moving on pretty different. That turns out to be the only main person around. Which I gotta say for Lori Garmadon, man, that is crazy. Like, very absolute crazy. That it even went to a son and a father showdown, which, to be quite frankly honest, that I'm pretty much liking different odds for how that turns out to be with two hands or four hands. That turns out to be a fight like that. Which I'm like, oh yeah, that is pretty sick. That is pretty good. Like, really good. So yeah, that's pretty much your guys' reason about Lord Gamadon, that he is the Green Ninja and turns out to be the father, or should I say, turns out to be the son of Lord Gamadon, which was pretty insane after when I watched the entire amount of like the whole thing that turned out not to be like a complete of not of a dump show, which more likely that is pretty interesting of whatever, but at least it went pretty well on its standards on its feet after when it turned out pretty well from how much likely it went on and on for like different stuff that moved on for a lot of good reasons about Lloyd Garmadon. So yeah, there's the Green Ninja for you, and that's pretty much the guy's name that turned out so freaking based and turned out pretty well in different times in these. Which I'm not saying that he's ever been good or bad. He's just been near the center. That he's been pushing out pretty different ways how to pretty much likely get anything else advised or whatever by any good reason to take out evil in its tracks and whatever. So that's just pretty much it about Lord Commandant. Now, that's what I'm going to just say. And now, we're going to be talking about Master Wu, the very, and I mean the very sensei master that we're going to be talking about and jumping right onto this guy right now, and we'll fully explain this anyway. So, here we go. Let's jump right on to the next story. So the next person I want to be calling in to say is that the next person who was pretty much the master and the sensei of all time, that is Master Ru. That's right, everybody, Master Ru. He pretty much likely is the master and the sensei of all combinations of pretty much likely anything that he uses out of that staff, of pretty much likely the magic staff of pretty much wisdom and pretty much courage and bravery and pretty much likely, yeah, pretty much likely and whatever. He may be old, but he still pretty much likely knows how to kick butt every single time, which he may try to, but there probably will be a time and point that Master Ru might pretty much be a bit old into his olden days, that he might probably be a bit of an old man. For some reason, he might try to win or lose. It depends, however, that he uses the strength of defeating any villain or pretty much likely gain the ninjas' attentions for pretty much likely not to goof off and pretty much knows how to pretty much like know when there's things in order of pretty much that need been followed of defeating every single villain that has been from the past and present of every single time, and also returns and different things of different situations between different ninjas of how they actually will be defeating every single one, which is going to be impressive. So we probably may or may not know what really happens to that. So just want to give that as a point of an expression and just say how Master Ru, well, he's pretty much likely know to be the guy that pretty much likely tells the ninjas how to pretty much likely work as a team and knows how teamwork works. And then there comes to a day where he reveals about like fighting his brother that is pretty much likely to be the next fellow that probably will be showing up in the next one too, which I have no idea how many we're going to get to all of this, which we might probably do anyway, which there's probably a couple of more that I might be explaining through, and then that's when we probably might be ending this anyway, which I know I probably am not going to talk to most about the villains in Lego Ninjago, which I knew about some of their names, but as in from the ninjas, I'm only talking about their perspectives, not the villains as more likely anything else. And plus, my villain was Master Chin. I think I have to say about like a shape-shifting of all powers that he uses to suck all the power energy from like any character's abilities. Like, I think I kind of like that one better than the rest of them, which I mean, all of them were still good, but except the fact that some of them were pretty okay and some of them went to its finest appreciations of all of many things that went pretty good with the season, and pretty much it went good or went not so well this season, but it depends on however that some we're pretty much likely at a different way around it. So that's just what I want to say from here by now. So that's just what I want to be saying for already, and I just hope that you guys still do consider enjoying the rest of this reaction of the video, how I've explained by everything else that's been played out and what's been going on recently. So that's just what I want to explain my through my thoughts of completely explaining. So that's just what I want to be pointing out from here, and fully just say like otherwise. So the next thing we're going to get to is finally, we're going to be explaining about Lord Gamadon. That name is funny. I like that name. I always like the name that has a long word in there by saying is like Lord Gamadon. Or just say Gamadon. That's just like two reasons you could probably say anyway from two reasons out of those names. Which is fine anyway, but whatever. So, we're going to move right along to the next villain and get to the next person that we're going to be selecting next is Lord Gamadon, which he had two versions of him being good or evil, but we're going to explain the evil half of Lord Gamadon, and pretty much beyond the way how he had some reasons to deal with, and probably was the issue to begin with, how he pretty much abandoned a bit of his son that was probably like that was pretty much like Lloyd, exactly, that he kind of abandoned for some reason, and then turns out to probably be dealing with his own kind of thing, just to be saying some villains to go out and spread havoc and pretty much destroy anything in its path of the ninjas, and was set to be doomed to fail by many attempted reasons how the ninjas would so likely to do some succeeding and some fails that was happening to be on with it. So, we're going to jump right on to the villain named Lord Gamadon. Anyway, let's jump right on to the next of the basics that we're finally about time to definitely be talking about. The next person is Lord Gamadon. Okay, the next villain that we're going to be talking about is pretty much that is Lord Gamadon. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Lord Gamadon. That's right, the very, and I mean the very only one that is Lord Gamadon. That's right, Lord Gamadon here. So, all I gotta say, that this guy turned out to be a very amazing villain. Not only the amazing villain, but he turns out to be pretty good with his pretty much likely different ways that went between about him, that Lord Gamadon was pretty much causing destruction and probably causing everything else to be in a hell basket, that he pretty much likely was the main antagonist of the villain himself, that he probably was out there for revenge and probably destroy the what's left of Ninjago City, and for pretty much likely anything else that relates to Ninjago, which he probably was the only one of going on and just pretty much to explain himself, and did a lot of different things in his life, which were pretty much likely a bit evil back then, which he turns out to pretty much be a very impressive evil villain, as times as for him that he did very quite pretty good after when I actually noticed about how villain he was, that I just didn't expect how Lord Gamadon did very differently and more likely did the following commanding of pretty much of his villain of his minions to follow Lord Gamadon's steps, and pretty much likely gets to take over Ninjago City and Ninjago itself for the ruling of the taking that Lord Gamadon pretty much likely did otherwise from the start. So, that's pretty much what happened. And then yes, the same reveal went to Master Wu that he was a good guy, and then Lord Gamadon was the villain this whole time. That he probably defeated Lord Gamadon into a one-on combat. That he probably defeated him. That gets to control the realms of pretty much the element realms that depended on for Lego Ninjago's defense. That I gotta say that wow, the story of the entire storyline went pretty perfect as I actually expected to say that even hell, I think it even went so much differently and better that it was so much likely to be the best thing I ever seen from Lego Ninjago that hell, it might even be better than pretty much the last Avatar. Which I mean, I don't think the last Avatar has been a bad thing ever. I think it's just been some different parts of natural different respect that's coming from like medium that doesn't go up or down. It probably went up for a few minutes or whatever of whenever it was being iconic or a bit of it ironic for some parts of reasons how it went good or bad depending on its character developments by reasons or whatever by its voice. So that's just all I want to be talking through. And yes, Lord Gamadon was a pretty much likely a very good typical villain that he pretty much was to be until something came to him that he never knew about the Green Ninja or revealed the intentions of him that he probably likely never knew about Lord Gamadon for the first time ever, that he never knew about him from this time, that Lord Gamadon was the son of his own dad, which technically I never knew how this went to action. But if I actually was a betting man for knowing which one was better between green or pretty much evil, I'd say probably evil. Because I mean, I gotta say, it's about Lord Gamadon. I have always liked the character named pretty much likely you know, pretty much Lord Gamadon, which I meant Lord Gamadon. Which the only thing I liked about this guy was that he was pretty talented for somewhat of being a villain, and however that he tries to like make more tries and tries as he tries to take over Ninjago City and pretty much anything else that happens with the entire thing that was in the plot. Well, it probably was something very rich and interesting that was going so well from Lord Gamadon himself. So, afterwards, that it was a reveal between how that they already had a kid that Lord Gamadon was married to by a woman that was pretty much likely not so called to be named anyway, or probably will not be mentioned to name anyway. For like, yeah, the name is gonna be different, which I don't know who the name even was technically. I mean, I was kind of focusing more of the story and episodes itself and character as well, which some of them I might forget and some others I won't forget about. But to again on this extent about pretty much like Lord Garmadon's wife, well, she kind of left him because the reason of that basically was that he did not felt the same as being a good father figure to pretty much the Green Ninja and decided to pretty much carry out and did evil things to send every single villain and minions to pretty much cause rampage around the cities and pretty much will be the only ultimate unstoppable force of evil that rise to the cities everywhere else. So, that's pretty much what Lord Gamadon had attempted the plan and said how the plan was going to work as well, but until the end, never really solved anything else. Until the ninjas defeated Lord Gamadon again and again from many different plot episodes and seasons as it depends again. And then of course it went to the same movie that as went to the same plot, which the movie itself went pretty much be epic. That it went pretty so much differently and epic at the same time. So that's just what my point is, and that's what my basic follows of the standing of the point of it, which I just wanted to make that obvious for everybody, is that yeah, that's probably what happened to Lord Gamadon and pretty much everything else of Ninjago, and that's gonna probably be it for this right now. So let's get on to what we're gonna do anyway. And oh yes, you might be seeing a good version of Lord Gamadon, by the way. That you might probably be seeing him on the thumbnail that you might see on the thumbnail screen that you might see anyway. Which, if any of you guys have definitely are now going to see it on the screen, then that's when you might see it anyway. While you probably might be watching it on a video. Which, if you guys do or don't know that you might see it anyway, then yeah, that's what Gamadon looks like. that he didn't call himself to be Lord Garmadon. He calls himself Garmadon. But yes, two different concepted names remain the same. Or pretty much it turns out to be the good side of Gamadon and decided to go on and be like an actual person and started living the ways how he probably would teach his own son. Even basically that he had horrible past back then, that he had to deal with a lot of things before he lost to the only sensei, Master Ru, that would have changed things from the better of Lord Gamadon. But yeah, it went to a bad fail and an alternative fail that never actually succeeded. So that's probably what happened, and that's all I gotta say for now. Is I hope that you guys enjoy this video. Please be sure to give this video a like and comment, subscribe to the bell, be notified. And without that being said, well, that's just what I want to talk about, and I'll probably will say like otherwise that it went pretty good, very dang good. So anyway, that's what you guys got to see right there, is that I actually did now fully explain about the ninjas, and of course, the good guys, and then of course the villain itself, and then I probably didn't explain all villains, which I did explain. The only few things were about skeletons and snakes that I mentioned afterwards, which I probably did said that anyway, that I've actually mentioned those two, which I gotta say, not gonna lie, but that was actually a pretty good thing I had ever seen. And plus, I actually am gonna give my opinion about Lego Ninjago anyways, that I'm actually gonna give this one um, a 7 out of a 10, which I probably would say I give this 7 out of 10 is because I gave its flaws pretty decent, pretty good, but some of them were pretty not as bad as some of them were to be good, which, trust me, some were good and some were horrible, about some ways how it could have been all prevented from how whatever the events turned out to be in Ninjago, which I'm not gonna lie, but it was so freaking good. Like, I still gotta give this 7 out of 10, but I might rewatch this already about Lego Ninjago. Even hell, I might watch it on TV or YouTube, for example, that I might watch it anyways, and just give my full example and explanations of how Ninjago went pretty good or went not so much. So yeah, that's just why I want to be pointing out my fact and theory about that. So without that being said, is please be sure to give this video a like and comment and subscribe to the bell to be notified. And hopefully, like I said, this has been a very pleasure of an amazing, well done game, well done season and movie. That pretty much it was from like Lego Ninjago itself. However, it went pretty good. So that's just why I want to put my sense in the bag and just explain it through and just say is why was Lego Ninjago a very good season, and then a good movie. So that's just why I want to be pointing out for that. So without that being said, is I hope to say is that, well, imagine if the next Lego Ninjago movie that is called Lego Ninjago Movie 2. Like, I imagine that there might be a sequel. Or there probably wouldn't be a sequel just yet, which I don't know what sequel is going to be going on for that in the next year or this year of this alone, which it depends either this year 2025 or 2026 of the outcome. That depends on Lego Ninjago, for which I don't really know, or basically don't follow to know which one's going to be the events, what happens next between how Lego Ninjago will be prevented or will probably be on into defense of having it to be in the next explanation of like the Lego Ninjago movie. Which, I mean, seriously, if they make a second movie, I'm like, jeez, a freaking dang, that is cool. Like, I would be out of my seat and I would be like, this a movie I would totally like to watch. Which I probably would have been fine with that, but all I could say that there could be different outcomes from Lego Ninjago to prevent having it to be in a number two, which I'm not saying they could do it already. I'm just saying that there's like a different perspective that might be on the way or whatever that could be, but we might as well have to see and wait for whatever that comes around the time or whatever it will be. Depends on the fact how Lego Ninjago will take it somewhere that won't be in a landslide or probably would not be in a bad slope or a bad slope at all, as long as it's a good movie, as long as it doesn't turn out to be horrible, stupid, trash, and complete dog turds or whatever, or dog crap or whatever of the movie, then that's when I might be fine with it of number two. As long that pretty much the second movie is fair and equal, that goes on to the story, then that's what I would be fair with for the entire extent. Like, that's just what I want to be putting my sense for that and make my explanation and make my full reason of why Lego Ninjago was a very good and impressive season, and don't forget its movie as well. So without that being said, is I hope that you guys enjoy this, and I'm Golden Devin-Foxy Remastered. And yeah, without that being said, to be totally again and said, is thank you very much for watching. Without that being said, I'll be sure to see you in the next video and then in the next time. So thank you for watching, and don't forget everybody that I am still not going to be, be on, which I'm still not going to be making videos for now. The only thing I'm going to be doing is making a second one that I'm going to be explaining about like the new setup in the computer room, which is going to be called a TV computer, which I don't think it's ever going to be called a computer again, actually, when it's being replaced. It's going to be called more likely a TV computer for a joke. It's only just for a joke, which that's just what I'm going to be talking about for that. Which, don't forget again, I probably am going to be mentioning a few different setups that's going to probably different and change for the gaming stuff to be for the better. That's going to only be different, which, like I said, I've always been very fair and very aware with different sets that could definitely go on better or not so much worse. So that's just what I want to be explaining about. And oh, as in for this, basically, that after when I'm done we are done talking about this video, I probably am going to play some Pico games that I'm going to be playing through, like, I don't know, Pico days all the way from 2023. Now I'm going to be going from up and down, from 6 from 23. So, that's probably what I'm going to be saying, even though I did watch all their movies, which I probably did already and actually did watch. So, that's probably my point of it. And then the only next thing after playing Pico's games lately, the recently played off recording, which won't be shown anyway, which totally won't be shown because it's going to have a lot of different effects that it probably wouldn't be suitable for viewers or anybody else that's above mature audiences or a very likely adult audiences. So that's just what I want to be aware for the safety of all that. And technically, I have to say Newgrounds has just been so good recently that I've always liked watching how interesting games of Newgrounds got so very likely pretty good. Some could be good and some of them wouldn't be good, but at least I find it pretty alright anyways from Newgrounds. So, as in for now, that's just what I will be talking about the basics and talk about the full basic of the extent. And also, just remember what I've actually mentioned from the very beginning is remember, please be sure to be followed, and will to be followed is about the post I've already recently talked about already in the last video I've mentioned in a reaction video. So there you go. Like I said, I will not be coming back until I return on February or March. Because like I said, if I ever do say that I'm making a return back, then I'm making a return back. But if I'm not, then just let me do things outside of anything else that I have to definitely be dealing with is my mental health and pretty much like anything else I'm trying to situately deal with right now. Which, like I said, I'm not going to take back from the post, which I'm not going to take it back anyway. It's just going to be said what it's going to be said because it's just what it's going to be. So don't rechange my decision because it's already been made and final and been chosen to be otherwise. And if I hear any buts coming out of it, then there is no buts. Anything but no buts. Okay? None. So, without that being said, thank you for watching. And yeah, so without that being said, is that I'm Golden Devin-Foxy with Master here. Thank you very much for joining Lego Ninjago and for pretty much likely of me making my complete full reasons about Lego Ninjago of why was it good and why was it very okay with or whatever. But yeah, that's just what I want to be explaining about Lego Ninjago. And then there'll probably be a movie that I might be explaining of another one, which I probably will bring up another one sooner or later, which I don't know if I could bring it out later or whatever, but it just will be in the later pile. So, without that being said, I hope you guys to be enjoying this. And without that being said, see you guys later. Peace out, sign out, and this is Golden Devin-Foxy Remastered. We'll see you soon in the next video. Bye bye, everybody. Take care and sign off and sign out. Bye bye, everybody. See you later. Bye.